This video is made in collaboration with the Gravity Falls Wiki. A big shout out to them for some very complete Gravity Falls articles. Deep in the forgotten parts of Oregon lies a town full of mysteries and monsters, tourist traps and terror, intrigue, and idiots. It's a wild place, a frontier for those curious and clever enough to delve into the secrets so cleverly hidden behind a thin veneer of fakey roadside museums. To summarize, a perfect place for Dipper Pines, awkward teen with an eye for the paranormal. So why not take a look at his life in great detail? Today on Channel Frederator, we'll be winding our way along the timeline of Dipper Pines. Let's hop right in. Early life. On August 31st, 1999 in Piedmont, California, Dipper Pines was born into the world along with his twin sister, Mabel. He often performs the Lamby Lamby dance while wearing a lamb costume for his mother. He and Mabel celebrate all sorts of holidays despite being non-religious, but one holiday reigns supreme for Dipper: Halloween. He loves trick-or-treating with Mabel. Dipper is often teased by others about his birthmark, so he made a habit of hiding it. This could be how he gets his nickname around the age of 5. He, along with Mabel, attend Egbert Elementary. Coming to Gravity Falls. One fateful summer, Dipper and Mabel are sent to the town of Gravity Falls, Oregon to stay with their Grunkle Stan. That's great uncle for those who don't know. Grunkle Stan is the proprietor of a tourist trap called the Mystery Shack. The Mystery Shack is also where Stan lives, meaning that Dipper and Mabel live there for the summer too. Dipper isn't too great at adjusting to life in this small, weird town at first, although Mabel gets right into it. Grunkle Stan gets the twins to do some work around the shack. One particular task involves hanging up Mystery Shack signs in the spooky part of the forest. It's there that Dipper discovers a mysterious journal filled with the secrets and dangers of Gravity Falls. He tells his sister, who had also just linked up with a new boyfriend, Norman. Dipper reads the journal, and with the information he learns, comes to the conclusion that Norman must be a zombie. Dipper tries to convince his sister that she was dating someone undead, but she won't hear it. After she leaves, Dipper checks his video footage and notices that Norman reattached his own hand after it fell off. Dipper hops in the mystery cart with keys procured from Wendy, the shack's clerk, and zips off to rescue his sister. Norman isn't a zombie though. He's 5 gnomes stacked on top of each other looking to make Mabel their queen. The siblings take care of the 5 gnomes, but there are even more in hiding, and they all come together to create an enormous gnome kaiju. This gnomestrosity chases the duo back to the Mystery Shack, where they threaten to do something crazy unless Mabel becomes their queen. So Mabel does what she has to do and accepts a ring, becoming queen. She has a backup plan though, and uses a leaf blower to take out the gnomes in front of Dipper. The siblings make up and head back to the shack, where Grunkle Stan offers them one free gift each. Dipper takes his now iconic hat, and Mabel chooses a grappling hook. That night, Dipper adds to the journal, letting future readers know that gnomes are weak to leaf blowers and that he knows he can always trust his sister, even if nobody in town can be trusted. Adventures in Gravity Falls. Dipper takes a fishing trip with Grunkle Stan and Mabel. The twins learn of a lake monster called the Gobblewonker and decide to find proof that it exists. Plus, there's the bonus of not having to spend 10 hours on a boat with Grunkle Stan. Dipper believes that finding the monster first will bring him fame and fortune. Stan, Mabel, and Seuss head off to find it with plenty of disposable cameras in tow. The Gobblewonker is revealed to be a mechanical beast operated by Old Man McGucket, who just wanted attention. Dipper and Mabel feel bad about ditching Grunkle Stan, so they spend the rest of the day with him. Dipper doesn't know this, but there is a real Gobblewonker in the lake. Wax Stan is murdered, and the police aren't doing much to help find who did it, so Dipper and Mabel jump on the case. They questioned Manly Dan, Toby Determined, and Chandra Jimenez, but none of them did it. At Wax Stan's funeral, Dipper puts it all together. Wax, Sherlock Holmes, and the rest of the wax figures were behind the murder. Dipper fights the wax figures and takes down most of them, sending Wax Larry King's head into the vents. Wax Sherlock Holmes makes it to the end, but melts in the sunlight atop the Mystery Shack in the morning. Gideon Gleeful is performing at the Tent of Telepathy, so Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss go to check it out. Dipper isn't impressed and considers Gideon a fraud. Gideon develops a crush on Mabel, and she accepts a date with him in order to avoid hurting his feelings. Dipper offers to tell Gideon that Mabel isn't interested, which ends up making Gideon mad enough to attack Dipper in an abandoned factory. Gideon uses a levitation amulet to control Dipper, but Mabel shows up just in time to save her brother and break the amulet. Dipper convinces Mabel to pretend that they're 13 so they can go to the haunted convenience store with Wendy and her pals. While looking for more ice to dump down Thompson's pants, he sees a headless brain and eyeballs combo and screams. The group then finds some chalk outlines, which Dipper lies down in to prove he's cool and also a teen. Then a bunch of haunting stuff happens. Teens start disappearing and Mabel is possessed by ghosts. Dipper discovers that the ghosts have something against teenagers, so he admits that he's only 12. The ghosts then make him do the Lamby Lamby dance to save his friends. Wendy tells everyone that he fought the spirits with a baseball bat though. Dipper fails a manliness test and goes on a manliness quest. He finds some manitors who tells him he's gotta slay the multi-bear and bring back its head. He fights the multi-bear and actually wins. The multi-bear has a final request though. It wants to hear its favorite song, Disco Girl, one last time. Dipper also likes that song, so he doesn't kill the bear. This leads to Dipper leaving the Manitars. He feels bad for not being manly, but Mabel and Stan reassure him that he did the right thing in standing up for what he believed in. Also, he grows his first piece of chest hair. Too bad it ends up in Mabel's scrapbook. When Grunkle Stan hosts a party, Dipper works the ticket booth with Wendy, seeing it as a good way to spend time with her. He tries to come up with a complex plan to dance with Wendy, but unexpected circumstances get in the way. To deal with all of these plan blockers, Dipper clones himself using a copy machine. He starts with one clone, Tyrone, but eventually pops out clones 3 through 10 and a paper jam Dipper. When Dipper decides to skip out on the plan to just talk to Wendy, the clones get mad and attempt to imprison him. They all get melted by fire sprinklers though. Tyrone actually seems kinda chill and hangs out with Dipper, but a freak soda accident melts him as well. Dipper rips up his plan and just goes to spend time with his family and friends. Mabel gets criticized by Pacifica Northwest for being too silly, prompting Dipper to decide the rich heiress needs to be taken down a peg. He and Mabel start researching the history of Gravity Falls and discover clues in the Gravity Falls Library, Museum of History, and Cemetery. They open a secret nose-picking passageway and Quentin Tremblay's body is found preserved in peanut brittle. They're almost taken to Washington, D.C. by Sheriff Blubbs and Deputy Durland, but Mabel's appetite for peanut brittle frees Tremblay, who saves the day. Mabel gets a $12 bill and a key to open any door in America, and Dipper shows proof to Pacifica that her ancestor did not found Gravity Falls. Dipper tries to win Wendy a stuffed animal at the mystery fair, but only ends up giving her a black eye. He goes to get ice, and Robbie manages to help Wendy before Dipper returns. Dipper steals Blendin Blendin's time machine in order to go back and fix his mistake, but can't quite get it right. His meddling in the timeline made it so Mabel didn't win her beloved pig Waddles, which puts Mabel in a depressive state. Dipper sees that Mabel needs Waddles more than he needs to impress Wendy, so he resets the timeline. Blendin realizes that they took his time machine, but the Time Paradox Avoidance Enforcement Squadron shows up and arrests him. The bald time traveler promises to mess up Dipper and Mabel's life, but they seem to be okay. Waddles then embarrasses Robbie, bringing a smile to Dipper's face. Robbie and Dipper really start to get on each other's nerves, and Robbie challenges Dipper to a fist fight. Dipper wants to avoid it, but ends up bringing a fighter from a video game to life. He tells Rumble McSkirmish that Robbie killed his dad, sending the pixelated warrior off to beat up Robbie. But Rumble tries to kill Robbie, so Dipper attempts to stop this from happening. Dipper ends up fighting Rumble and losing, but this allows the warrior to return to his video game. Robbie and Dipper then decide that they're just gonna hate each other in secret. Mabel is revealed to have grown a millimeter taller than Dipper, which fuels his insecurity. In order to become the taller sibling, he heads into the woods and finds some height-altering crystals. He makes a crystal flashlight and uses it to become taller than Mabel. This kicks off a back-and-forth height-altering marathon, only interrupted when Gideon shows up and shrinks the twins down. He uses them as ransom against Stan to get the mystery shack, but this doesn't work, so he decides to just shrink Stan and take over. Dipper and Mabel stop him and make it back to their original size. During Summerween, Dipper gears up to go trick-or-treating with his sister and their pals. Wendy invites him to a party though, implying that trick-or-treating is for kids. Dipper and Mabel get into an argument over this, but the issue is forced when the Summerween trickster threatens to eat everyone if they don't collect 500 pieces of candy for him by night's end. At first, Dipper doesn't wear a costume, which is bad for their candy collection rate, but when he does don a sweet stoom, all bets are off. off. They get enough candy, but Dipper accidentally knocks it into a river. Seuss drives right through the trickster, but he reconstitutes and chases the gang into the Summerween store. Mabel tells Dipper that she was worried that this would be their last time trick-or-treating together. The trickster, now revealed to be made up of thrown away candy, eats Seuss and tries to eat the twins, but Seuss eats his way out, ultimately making the trickster happy. Dipper and Mabel get jump scared by Grunkle Stan in the bathroom, and then everyone watches horror movies together. When Mabel takes over the Mystery Shack for a couple of days, Dipper has the opportunity to bring in an actual monster to put on display. He brings back a gremlin, but it drives some tourists insane. Plus, the monster escapes and he has to go fight it. He realizes that Grunkle Stan uses fake attractions for a reason and helps fix the damaged Mystery Shack. Dipper falls into a bottomless pit along with Mabel, Stan, and Seuss. They tell stories to pass the time, with Dipper's story being about him changing his voice to a very deep, manly timbre. They reach the bottom of the pit and then come back out on top, with Dipper figuring it's a wormhole. Dipper finds out that Wendy is working at the local pool and gets a job there in order to hang out with her. He spends most of his time breaking the rules and gets in trouble with his boss. That night, Dipper has to watch over the pool supplies, but is soon drawn away from his job by Mabel, who is carting a merman back to the sea. The cooler the merman is stored in springs a leak, so Dipper has to give him reverse CPR. Then Dipper gets fired from the pool for not doing his job. Oh well, at least Wendy got fired too. After Dipper spends an annoying night outside thanks to Mabel's sleepover, the twins start to compete for a newly discovered bedroom. Dipper does some chores to earn suck-up points and thinks he has it in the bag. A carpet-generated static electricity mishap forces the twins to switch bodies, putting a damper on their competition. Both twins decide to tank the other's odds while inhabiting their bodies, with Mabel eventually winning the room as Dipper. He tries to snag the key from her, but she locks herself in the room. Dipper, as Mabel, then enlists Candy and Grenda to get in there under the pretense of a Dipper makeover. The girls discover the body-swapping properties of the carpet and a lot of swaps happen. In the end, everyone returns to their original bodies and all is well. Dipper takes the room but feels lonely and returns to his original room with Mabel. Seuss gets the bonus room. Dipper and Wendy crack some jokes over Mystery Shack security footage, but the fun is over when Robbie shows up to ask Wendy out. She says no and almost breaks up with him, but he plays her a song and her whole attitude changes. Dipper is convinced that she was brainwashed, and Grunkle Stan, having experienced something like this when he was young, agrees. They find the part of the song that does the brainwashing and go to tell Wendy. Robbie claims that he didn't know as he just ripped off some band and Wendy dumps him. Dipper is really happy and asks Wendy to go bowling, but she gets mad at him for not seeing that she's upset. Waddles is pignapped by a pterodactyl, so Mabel brings Dipper and the others to a dinosaur-filled spot to rescue her pet. Seuss keeps interrupting Dipper's monster hunting, which makes Dipper really mad. They work it out in the end though, becoming pterodactyl bros. Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss follow Bill Cipher into Grunkle Stan's mind, where Dipper sees a memory of Stan where he calls his grandnephew useless. This is out of context though, and Dipper eventually sees the whole memory, learning that Stan is actually really proud of him. They drive Bill Cipher away and hop out, only to discover Gideon destroying the Mystery Shack. The Pines have to move in with Seuss's abuelita after their shack is shattered. Grunkle Stan is too depressed to get the shack back, so the twins take the lead. They get the gnomes to steal the deed from Gideon, which doesn't work out very well, resulting in Gideon getting journal number 3. Gideon assumes that Dipper is hiding the other journals from him and kidnaps Mabel with his Gideon bot to make her his queen. Dipper gets inside of the robot's control room and fights Gideon, and is saved from falling off a bridge by Mabel and her trusty grappling hook. Gideon tries to get them arrested, but Grunkle Stan reveals that Gideon has been spying on everyone. The Pines get the Mystery Shack back, and Stan takes journal number 3 to help him come up with new attractions. Dipper misses the book, but Mabel assures him that he'll get it back. And sure enough, Grunkle Stan hands the journal back to Dipper. But then the feds show up at the Mystery Shack to investigate, you guessed it, mysteries. Dipper tries to show them the journal, but they dismiss him until he summons some subterranean zombies. He, Mabel, and Stan beat the zombies, and he promises to stay out of trouble. Yeah, right. Dipper attempts to let Wendy know about his true feelings, but chickens out, opting instead to invite her on his next investigation. Wendy, Seuss, Dipper, and Mabel find the author's hidden bunker and activate some booby traps that close in the walls. Dipper accidentally drops the love letter he wrote to Wendy, causing Mabel to trap them in a closet together. Dipper and Wendy stumble upon a secret lab and get chased by a big old bug. They're saved by what appears to be the author of the journals, who is later revealed to be a shapeshifter. They skedaddle and regroup with the others and come up with a plan to stop the shapeshifter. During the fight with the creature, it tells Dipper that he won't find the author, and also something terrible will happen to him. Great. Dipper admits that he's got a crush on Wendy, and she politely turns him down. She's too old for him after all. They'll remain friends. Dipper tells Mabel that she should use the Lilliputians to win a mini-golf tournament against Pacifica. The tiny folk try to kill Pacifica though. Dipper comes in with a save by driving a golf cart to help everyone get out of there. Dipper attempts to figure out the password to a laptop, but Mabel is too busy putting together a puppet show to help. Bill Cipher offers some help, but Dipper declines, largely because he knows whatever deal he strikes will have some unintended consequences. After almost wiping the laptop by getting the password wrong too many times, Dipper is approached by Bill again. He says he'll help, and all he needs is a puppet. Dipper accepts, and here comes those unintended consequences. He becomes the puppet. Bill takes over and breaks the laptop, leaving Dipper a ghost. Thankfully, he can possess one of Mabel's puppets to tell her what's going on. Mabel gets Dipper to take over her puppet show as she fights Bill. She successfully gets the one-eyed freak out of Dipper, and her twin gets his body back. Dipper tries to get Seuss a date, but it sort of backfires and he gets attacked by Giffany. In order to figure out a puzzle toy, Dipper finds some perceptrooms. He places one on his head and goes to sleep. In the morning, he discovers that Waddles ate it and became super smart. The two of them work on a variety of gadgets and gizmos, but in the end, Waddles chooses to return to his old self. While trying to find out more info about the author on the broken laptop, Mabel points out a clue that suggests that it must be Old Man McGucket. McGucket claims he doesn't remember anything about the book, but freaks out when he sees a strange symbol from the journal. Seems like this symbol is connected to a mystery group that impacted McGucket's mind. The group heads to the History Museum and chases a suspicious person. Dipper hits a hidden button to reveal the Blind Eye Society erasing memories and storing them in tubes. The group gets caught, and the Blind Eye Society reveals that they wanted to erase the whole town's memories. Dipper and co. stop the memory stealers and return everyone's memories, including McGucket's. He is not the author. Dipper and Mabel throw Seuss a surprise birthday party, which he is not a big fan of. Blendin Blandin shows up and challenges the twins to Globnar. Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss go back in time and meet younger versions of the townsfolk, before learning that Seuss doesn't like his birthday because his dad wasn't around. Dipper and Mabel win the challenge and offer their prize to Seuss. He uses the time wish to fix Dipper and Mabel up and also to get an infinite pizza slice. Dipper has to hop in and undo Mabel's meddling after she uses a love potion to get Robbie and Tambry together. In order to get Mabel and her pals tickets to Northwest Fest, Dipper helps Pacifica get rid of a ghost in her house. After capturing it, he accidentally lets it go, resulting in the possession of all the taxidermy animals in Northwest Manor and turning everyone to wood. Even Dipper gets turned to wood, but Pacifica bails him out by opening the gates. The government arrests Grunkle Stan, leaving Dipper and Mabel to be taken in by Child Protective Services. The twins escape to prove their Grunkle's innocence, but find out a lot more than they anticipated. Dipper learns that Stan had the journals this whole time, and that there's a machine that may or may not end the universe down in his lab. Dipper really wants to hit the manual override, but Stan shows up and begs him not to. Mabel is left with the final choice, and she doesn't hit the button. And out from a portal comes Stan's long-lost six-fingered journal authoring brother, the post-Ford days. Dipper meets Grunkle Stan's brother, Ford Pines. Dipper has a lot of questions, but before he can ask them, he's sent to his room with Mabel. There, the twins promise that they'll never fight like Stan and Ford did, and that they'll always be friends. Dipper gets a copy of Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons and tries to convince Mabel and Stan to play. That's a no-go, but he does get Ford involved, and the game quickly takes over the house. Stan rolls the infinity-sided die and releases Probabilitor the Annoying, who kidnaps Ford and Dipper. The wizard shrinks the duo, turning them into game characters, but Stan and Mabel come to the rescue. Ford then shows Dipper what he was working on in the basement. He destroyed the portal and contained an interdimensional rift. Dipper promises to keep it all a secret. During the Gravity Falls mayoral election, Dipper uses a mind control tie to get Stan to win. Dipper angrily tells Stan later, who then takes off the tie. Dipper and Mabel pop the tie on Seuss to interfere with the election and also discover that the other candidate, Bud, is being controlled by Gideon. Gideon traps the twins inside the Mayor Befufflefumper statue, planning to kill them later. Stan sees this, saves the twins, and wins the election, but then he's disqualified. Ford calls Dipper and Mabel into a family meeting to discuss Bill Cipher. He's distraught that they've met the multiversal maniac and immediately sets out to bill-proof the shack and their minds. Mabel is sent to get unicorn hair, and Dipper is popped into the Project Bentum to encrypt his thoughts. It takes a while though, so Dipper peeks into Ford's head. Inside, he sees Ford making a deal with Bill, which makes Dipper freak out. He zaps the memory erasing gun, which bounces off Ford's head and destroys the machine. It's then that Ford decides to tell Dipper his full history with Bill. No more secrets between these two. Thankfully, Mabel does indeed return with unicorn hair, and they spend the day bill-proofing the shack. Dipper joins his family and friends on a revenge-themed road trip where Grunkle Stan plans to pull pranks on all sorts of other tourist traps. Mabel tells Dipper that he's gotta get over Wendy and that he should meet more people. At every roadside attraction, Dipper meets a girl and tries different strategies to interact with them. These are met with varying levels of success, but his confidence increases, which is noticed by Candy. She asks him on a date, but when they're alone together, all of the girls Dipper got phone numbers and emails from show up. He admits that he doesn't actually like any of them and he was just learning how to talk to girls. They all storm off. After Candy saves the group from a she-spider, Dipper apologizes and she admits that she isn't attracted to him anymore. The mystery shack is in pieces upon their return, courtesy of the other tourist trap owners. When Dipper and Mabel's 13th birthday is a week away, they begin planning their party. Grunkle Stan reminds them that they can't have it at the shack after what happened last time. Dipper is called into the basement by Ford, who shows him a crack in the interdimensional rift. He asks Dipper to come with him on a mission to fix this. Dipper hesitates because he wants to help Mabel with their birthday plans, but she says it's cool if they split up for a bit and hands him a walkie-talkie. Ford explains to Dipper that the Valley of Gravity Falls was created by a UFO millions of years ago, and he's been using parts of it to build his machines. Ford cracks into the spacecraft with his magnet gun and he and Dipper go adhesive hunting. Ford offers to make Dipper his apprentice in Gravity Falls, but Dipper worries about leaving Mabel. Some prison droids show up and attack the duo. Dipper isn't able to stay calm, so Ford has to save him. Ford gets captured and carted away, so Dipper attaches himself to the little ship with the magnet gun, eventually taking it down over the woods. He stands up to a prison droid and saves Ford. He then accepts the opportunity to apprentice in Gravity Falls, which is heard by Mabel over the walkie-talkie. When he goes to tell her the news, she's really sad. She doesn't want to leave everything behind and go to high school, especially if her brother leaves too. She grabs her bag and runs off into the forest, except it's not her bag, it's Dipper's. Ford and Dipper realize that she has the rift. Weirdmageddon. Dipper and Ford watch as Weirdmageddon takes over Gravity Falls. Bill gets stronger the longer the rift is open, so they go to take on Bill. Bill turns Ford to gold and sicks his weird little helpers on Dipper, who escapes. 3 days later, Dipper meets up with Wendy at the mall. They catch each other up on what's been happening, and Wendy reminds Dipper that if he finds his sister, maybe they can stop Bill. They team up with Toby Determined and try to find a car, but are stopped by Gideon Gleeful and his gang. Dipper meets up with Seuss and manages to convince Gideon to help them stop Bill. Dipper, Seuss, and Wendy head to Mabel's bubble and go in together. Inside the bubble, they meet up with Xyler and Kraz, who guide them to Mabel's tower. They try to rescue Mabel, but she reveals that she's created Mabelland, an imaginary world with an imaginary brother, Dippy Fresh. Wendy and Seuss get some wishes granted and fall under her spell, but Dipper is despondent. He says that he wants to go back to the real world and is promptly arrested. He's put on trial for fantasy versus reality. Xyler and Kraz present Mabel's case, illustrating Dipper and Mabel's tumultuous journey, but Dipper argues that Mabel sought an escape from reality to avoid growing up. He emphasizes their unwavering support for each other despite challenges. Mabel acknowledges the truth, offering Dipper a seemingly heartfelt sibling hug. However, when they pat each other, the inhabitants of Mabelland turn against them. The twins escape the bubble along with Wendy, Seuss, and even Xyler and Kraz. Dipper and Mabel make up, and Dipper says that he's gonna come back home with Mabel instead of apprenticing. Back at the Mystery Shack, they find Stan and his resistance group. Stan doesn't want to fight back against Bill, so Dipper convinces everyone else that Ford knows the secret to victory. Old Man McGucket helps build the Shacktron, and they head out to fight against Bill. After successfully rescuing Ford, he discloses the existence of the Zodiac and its potential to defeat Bill. Dipper, representing the Pine Tree, participates in the activation of the wheel, nearing success. However, tensions flare between Stan and Ford, causing the wheel to malfunction upon Bill's return. Bill turns everyone but the twins, Stan, and Ford into tapestries. Mabel and Dipper try to escape but are trapped at a dead end. Bill captures all the townsfolk and demands that Ford let him know how to break the barrier around Gravity Falls, threatening to kill the twins. Ford says he'll let Bill into his mind in exchange for the safety of everyone else, so Bill hops right in. Psych! That's Stan's mind, you dummy. Ford zaps Stan with the memory erasing gun, destroying Bill. After that, Gravity Falls returns to normal, whatever that means. Stan gets his memories back thanks to Waddles, and Dipper and Mabel get to celebrate their 13th birthday with the town. As Dipper says goodbye, he and Wendy trade hats. She also gives him a letter for the next time he misses Gravity Falls. He reads it on the bus. "See you next summer," signed by all of his new friends. And that, my friends, is the life of Dipper Pines, all in one place. Feel free to speculate on what happens next, and maybe someday a sequel series will arrive, but for now, all we can do is wonder and appreciate what we've already got. So, what'd you think? Did seeing his timeline all laid out in front of you give you a newfound appreciation for Dipper? What's your favorite Dipper moment? Make sure you let me know down in the comments and subscribe for more like this. Thanks for watching, and remember, Frederator loves you.